This video is sponsored by Elgato Gaming. If you guys want to see how we record our gameplay and all the other equipment that we use, then you can click the link in the description box down below to check out more. Yo, what's going on guys? HyperX here. Welcome back to another video for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, and today I want to take some time to talk about some of the stuff that I hope to see in the future expansion, mainly because things have gone quiet, right? Capcom, they dropped a trailer for us showing the good old blue crab, Mr. Shogun Senator, and then they basically just like, we're gonna go quiet. We are gonna disappear off the face of the earth. I mean, we are getting towards the end of the year. Quite whether we see anything else, we do have the Game Awards around the corner, so I'm kind of hoping they might sneak like one last Sunbreak trailer in towards the end of the year just to round things out. But either way, I still want to talk about some of the stuff that I hope to see, not the obvious stuff like more monsters, more silk binds, because that stuff is kind of obvious. But I do want to talk about a few things that I hope they add in Sunbreak that I personally think would make for a fantastic experience. So if you guys do enjoy this, a like would be super appreciated. Let me know in the comments down below what you hope they add outside of kind of the regular stuff. If there's any like mechanics or stuff you hope to see return, let me know. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the future contents. But in at number one, I've spoken about this before, but I want to talk about it again in the hope that I can manifest it into existence, because the thing that I've been doing recently is I talk about topics and then companies drop trailers on those topics. So I'm kind of hoping I can manifest this into reality, and that is the WYMPORIUM, the part trading, not trading parts between people. If you guys cast your mind back to 4 Ultimate, of course, part trading allowed you to basically get monster parts from monsters that are not in the game, which then allowed you to have even more armor sets, even more weapons. It was a fantastic feature. You took a game that already had an extensive roster of monsters, but you then had even more potential gear and weapons to make because you could get parts from things that didn't exist in the game. That meant that in 4U, you could make stuff like the Cedeus gear, other stuff like that. And honestly, I feel like this would be a fantastic addition to Rise, because while the game, of course, has some amazing monsters, has some amazing gear, I think it's fair to say that, of course, the gear selection towards the end of the game is still a little on the lighter side. And of course, Sunbreak will introduce more monsters. Hopefully, they'll double the monster roster. But even so, if they put in part trading and the ability to kind of get more stuff, then we could see the return of gear sets from things like Cedeus, like LAGIACRUS, like Tiger Stripe Zamtrios. Basically, I kind of just want this as a means to expand the available gear and weapon roster, even if the monster roster doesn't necessarily include those. So I really do hope to see this return, because I thought it was a fantastic system and it would be awesome in Rise. Next up, in number 2, specifically, right, I'm making this 1 point for one monster. I said before I'm not talking about the obvious stuff like more monsters, because obviously we're going to get more monsters, both returning and new, but I do want to manifest LAGIACRUS into existence. Capcom, stop it. Stop hiding this monster. It is my favourite monster. It is such a great creature. And look, I know Rise doesn't have underwater combat, and I don't care about that because I don't really like underwater combat, but what I do want is LAGIACRUS. Even if you bring Ivory, which admittedly is actually my favourite version of Laggy, and it's also typically the one you fight on ground, you could definitely still spice it up. You could definitely make it less of a pushover. You could definitely still give it some new moves, some better mobility, but just bring it back, please. I love this monster so much, and it is not fair. It's not fair that we just don't get to fight it anymore. Moving on from there to point number 3, this one is better collaborations, better kind of like post-launch support. Now again, Rise did have some stuff. They did add some monsters, but admittedly, it wasn't quite in the same way that people expected, especially if you kind of played World or Iceborne. There was obviously kind of an expectancy that had been created in the way that content would be delivered. Every single game is different. There is no right or wrong way to do this, but one of the things that I did really miss this time around were kind of really cool collaborations. They've done a few towards the end, some of the Capcom collaborations. Some of them are better than others, and of course the upcoming Sonic one looks hella cool, and they of course have gone a little bit further in that one. But honestly, when Rise came to Switch, I really expected to sort of see them dipping heavily into the Nintendo pool, seeing Zelda stuff, Mario stuff, Metroid stuff, Splatoon stuff, so many opportunities that were just missed. And admittedly, again, developing the game in COVID times does come with its challenges, so I'd like to think that maybe some of those were limitations due to the working conditions. But hopefully if we look ahead to, say, Sunbreak, maybe some of the stuff that just didn't make the cut could finally be worked into Sunbreak and fill that void. But honestly, I would love to see some fantastic collaborations, some really cool stuff, some cool quests, some new monsters, just stuff like that. Then in at number 4, big siege style quest. Now, don't get me wrong, yes, we do have Ibushi, yes, we do have Nawa. They are cool quests, don't get me wrong, I like fighting those monsters, but when I think about my favourite siege style quests in Monster Hunter, I think about things like Genmoran, I think about Lao Shanlung, I think about Shengaren, any of those ones where I know some people say they're kind of boring fights because you're just like fighting something and hacking away at its ankles while it moves, but I really like those ones where you work your way through the environment progressively and there's just like big scale stuff going on. Even Zora Magdaros, which admittedly wasn't the most exciting fight, there were still elements to it that I just really enjoyed, and I feel like in Rise and in Sunbreak, given the amazing mobility you have in the game thanks to the wire bug, silkbind moves, all that stuff like that, I feel like not having a big epic siege style battle that spans multiple areas and kind of just like has a lot of movement components to it, I feel like it's just missing a trick. Like Nawa and Ibushi are cool, but they fundamentally take place in a single arena and just don't really give the opportunity to take full advantage of what Rise brings to the table. So I would love to see something on like a massive scale where we're fighting like a giant creature that just spans different environments, destroys walls, those kind of things like that. I want one of those experiences because, yo, Rampages, they're cool, but they still didn't scratch that itch. And then finally, in at number 5, some kind of Guiding Lands / Guild Quest model. Guiding Lands in its form in World and Iceborne was interesting, wasn't perfect, definitely wasn't the most thrilling activity, but it was still really cool. Similarly, Guild Quest in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, they were cool, but of course the never-ending list of relic weapons was also kind of daunting, so I don't feel like either system was perfect, but I do feel like some kind of merged system that gives you the opportunity to pursue relic-style weapons, maybe with a more finite number of permutations, paired with, say, like the evolving aspect of the Guiding Lands. I just want some kind of endgame activity to dive into, because again, with Rise, it definitely had a distinct lack of kind of endgame drive, you know, outside of just farming charms, which again, you can't even do in missions really, you just do it from the pot. It definitely felt like it was lacking in some degree, and not to say that every Monster Hunter game needs to have some kind of infinite grinding endgame content, but when I cast my mind back to things like 4 Ultimate or like World with the Guiding Lands, it definitely was fun to have something that you could divert your efforts into if you wanted to play for more extended periods of time, if you wanted some kind of quote-unquote endgame activity. So that I feel will be a fantastic addition to Sunbreak and would definitely fill a void for a lot of people. But anyway, there you have it. That's a little list of a few things that I personally hope to see in Sunbreak. Of course, as and when we find out more information, as and when we learn more about the game, I'll be keeping you guys up to date. But for the time being, thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to catch more from us, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our latest uploads. And if you want somewhere to hang out, play games, or chat all things from games to anime, food to fitness, consider joining the HyperX Gaming Discord.